Staring across the East River while you are on the Lower East Side, you will see Williamsburg and several obvious landmarks, mainly the old Domino's Sugar Factory and the Williamsburg Bridge. Through the years, Williamsburg became one of my personal favorite places in the 5 boroughs to shoot. Why don't we go take a look at what this neighborhood has to offer for not just a photographer like me, but for anyone in general. New York, the Big Apple. It has been my home for all of my life, filled with a rich history. In this series, we'll explore some of that history, presenting Reflections of New York. Williamsburg has a population of approximately 156,000 people living in an area of about 2,179 square miles. Williamsburg is located just across the before-mentioned East River from the Lower East Side, with Dumbo, which means down under the Manhattan Bridge overpass, to the south, Greenpoint to the north, and East Williamsburg to the east. In the early days, Williamsburg went by a different name. The neighborhood was known as Bushwick or Bushwick Shore, where farmers at the time used to market their products where Grand Street now currently stands. All up to the point when Jonathan Williams, a developer, obtained the land where Metropolitan Avenue is located now. He named the land Williamsburg in his own honor during 1802. With Williamsburg's easy location along the East River, it became a major shipping destination. As a result, a large number of factories grew and expanded within the area. This resulted in Williamsburg's official separation from the town of Bushwick in 1840. Later, the H was removed in the end of the community's name and officially became Williamsburg. Later, becoming part of Brooklyn's Eastern District in 1855, then Brooklyn became part of New York City as a whole in 1898. During the turn of the century, an immigrant community began to grow in Williamsburg. Many hailed from Europe and settled mainly in the neighborhood's north side. As a result of the rapid growth from 1900 to 1920, it became the most densely populated area in New York. Further growth continued during the 30s, where a large amount of European Jews fleeing the Nazis settled in the neighborhood. Between the 1960s and the 1980s, a large Hispanic community began to grow due to the abundance of manufacturing jobs in Williamsburg. Unfortunately, during the 1990s, the number of these jobs decreased to approximately less than 12,000, leaving a lot of employees without jobs, and the rise of social issues will plague any community. Within the last 20 years, a new set of people now call Williamsburg home. Due to the low rents, artists moved in, merging with the already established immigrant community, opening up various galleries, restaurants, and shops. Later began a real estate boom, resulting in a lot of local staples closing down in place of corporate chains and rising rents. However, Williamsburg still have a reputation for being a hipster mecca due to the fact that there are no office buildings at this moment. Connecting Williamsburg to the neighborhood of the Lower East Side in Manhattan spans the Williamsburg Bridge. Around the late 1860s, John Roebling, who had designed the Brooklyn Bridge, foresaw the need of other bridges spanning the East River to coincide with the growth of the city. Later in the 1880s, officials from Williamsburg, the city, as well as powerful ferry lobbyists trying to protect their interests, fought over the state of the bridge project, despite Albany approving the construction. During 1892, Frederick Ullman endeavored to extend the Brooklyn elevated lines across the river, so two new rail lines, one for the west manufacturing communities, the other for the financial districts in Manhattan, was conceived, in addition to two bridges, the Manhattan and the Williamsburg bridges. The bill authorized the construction was approved by the state legislature and began the East River Bridge Company. Plans for construction began in 1898 by Chief Engineer Leffert L. Buck. Actual construction began in November of the same year, completed on December of 1903, but only open to horse-drawn carriages, bicycle, and other foot traffic. Elevated trains didn't run on the bridge until 1908. During the next decade, a series of modifications began. Supports were added under each of the side spans. Extra steel was added to the deck for heavier trains. Finally, in the 20s, the bridge was modified to allow for 8 lanes of vehicle traffic. During the mid-60s, throughout the 70s and the 80s, the bridge fell into a severe state of disrepair. The only fresh paint on the bridge was graffiti. The walkway was closed down in the 70s due to a maintenance worker who was assaulted while doing this job. The state of the bridge was so severe during the 80s, it was shut down for several months for emergency reconstruction. A debate went on about demolishing the bridge and building an all-new bridge or repairing the current bridge. Around the 90s, it was decided by the Department of Transportation to rehabilitate and repair the bridge. This includes a total overhaul of the main cables, steel tower, trusses, and roadways. In a way, it was like building a whole new bridge. The whole endeavor was completed around 2002. Today, the bridge accommodates approximately 140,000 drivers, 92,000 strap hangers, and 600 cyclists and 500 pedestrians between Williamsburg and the Lower East Side. What you see across the river here is all that remains of the old Domino sugar factory, now known as Domino Park. This rather large building and the satellite structures towered over the East River for over a century and a half. The Hague mayors constructed the complex in 1855. Within 25 years of its opening, the factory refined a large amount of the country's sugar. During the turn of the century, the factory was renamed to highlight the Domino's brand, in which the famous lighted sign would later brighten the skylines of Brooklyn. Later, the complex would expand to occupy about a fourth of Williamsburg waterfront, employing about 4,500 workers and refining 4 pounds of sugar every day. Prior to shutting down in 2004, changing times and parent companies contributed to its downfall. In addition to the longest worker strike in New York City's history, workers were fighting against the treatment by Tate and Lyle, the new parent company of Domino's at the time, lasting for more than 600 days. Also, a slowing of operations and rezoning plans by the city also assisted in the shutdown of the beloved factory. Now, a thriving park now stands, mingling with apartments in the area after years of abandonment. Some structures of the original factory still remains as part of the park. Also, one of the remaining buildings currently of the recording of this video is being restored. Personally, I'm a little displeased at the loss of most of this site. However, I am pleased that some reminders remain to remind us of what was here. This is why I produce these videos, to preserve what's left of our history. A popular site in Williamsburg happens to be this old abandoned barbershop on Driggs Avenue, located between North 7th and North 8th Streets. This location conjures up a lot of mystery and speculation, even for myself. Obviously, it was a barbershop in the past, but what was this store's life in the past, and who left the flag inside on the door? While I was doing research on this place, I couldn't find hardly anything, so your guess is as good as mine. However, it still remains a landmark of some kind. There are also rumors stating that this site may be haunted. Please forgive the construction in this area. I had to shoot around the construction just to get this landmark. Located on the border between Greenpoint and Williamsburg, we have McCarran Park. The park, formerly known as Greenpoint Park, was renamed after a well-known Democrat politician named Patrick Henry McCarran, who was elected to the State Assembly in 1881, later the State Senate in 1889. The park was renamed in McCarran's honor in 1909. An athletic facility was constructed a year later. The center all the modern necessities, which includes a quarter-mile track, tennis court, baseball, football, and soccer fields. The famous McCarran Park pool was added in August of 1936, created through the Work Progress Administration, a program created during the Depression by Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal to provide work to unemployed Americans. Designed by Amar Embry II, the pool was the second largest only to Astoria Park pool with a capacity of 6,800 swimmers. In 1984, due to deterioration and disrepair, the pool needed to be closed down. However, new life came to the pool and the park beginning in 2005. It became a performance spot and music venue for various high-performing shows. In 2008, a restoration plan had begun courtesy of the New York City Parks Department. The project was completed in 2012. Now the park is still thriving and serves both communities of Williamsburg and Greenpoint. Riding east along the Williamsburg Bridge, you'll see a large dome building on the right side. This structure was the Williamsburg Savings Bank, one of the city's most majestic public spaces from the post-Civil War era. Built within 1870 to 1875 by George B. Post with the aid of artisan Peter B. Wright, the bank utilized a French-inspired style for its exterior. Wright designed the 110-foot dome, which rests on large stone arches. To provide the natural sunlight to fill the hall, an oval window enclosure was included. During the mid-60s, the exterior was declared a landmark by the city. The interior followed later in 1996. The bank is also listed in the National Register of Historic Places. In 2010, HSBC Bank, who were the current occupants at the time, put this location on the market after relocating this branch. Later, a group of entrepreneurs based in Brooklyn acquired the landmark and began the process of restoring the 135-year-old bank. As a result, the structure was reborn as the Wheatland. Today, it serves as a multi-use cultural and community venue, catering to art shows, weddings, and other activities. 11 years ago, as the production of this episode, I discovered Williamsburg thanks to an independent sponsored event in the neighborhood. After that, I took the opportunity to explore the area for curiosity's sake and for my own artistic inspiration as a photographer. Throughout the years since then, Williamsburg became one of my personal favorite places to shoot, even to this day. I always find something intriguing and interesting to shoot here. Thank you for watching my presentation. If you like my work, please give a like and or subscribe to my channel to show your support. Your viewership really helps me out. Thank you again and help to keep New York's history alive.